4 years ago, the Biden administration engineered a foreign policy catastrophe and had the nerve to call it a success. Their chaotic, disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan handed the country back to the Taliban on a silver platter. They stood at podiums and promised us a safe and orderly process. They promised they had leverage. Most importantly, they promised the women of Afghanistan they wouldn't be abandoned. So, 4 years later, let's check in on those promises. Let's take a hard look at the success story the Biden administration left behind. Surprising no one with a basic understanding of history, the Taliban 2.0 turned out to be remarkably similar to the Taliban 1.0. They immediately re-established the Ministry for the Propagation of Virtue and Prevention of Vice. Because nothing says stable government like a morality police. Their first order of business wasn't fixing the economy or providing basic services. It was a systematic, decree-by-decree erasure of women from public life. First, they banned girls from high school. Then, universities. Then they kicked women out of their jobs, even at NGOs trying to distribute humanitarian aid. Think about that. The government is so committed to oppression, it's willing to starve its own people by preventing women from helping to deliver food. It's not just medieval, it's strategically stupid. And what happens when you forcibly remove 50% of the population from the workforce? Well, the economy collapses. Shocking, I know. The country has been plunged into a desperate humanitarian crisis. The leverage the White House was so proud of turned out to be a handful of frozen assets, while the Afghan people are left to pay the price. The international community makes strongly worded statements. The UN expresses deep concern, but the Taliban remains unmoved because they know the world has moved on. The news cycle changed, and the people of Afghanistan were left in the dark. The withdrawal itself was a chaotic disaster, a fact that was obvious to everyone except the people who planned it. They had months to prepare, but somehow seemed surprised when the Taliban walked into Kabul without a fight. They left behind billions in military hardware, thousands of Afghan allies, and any shred of credibility. They didn't just end a war, they orchestrated a surrender and called it peace. They handed an entire country back to the very people we spent 20 years fighting and patted themselves on the back for a job well done. So 4 years later, the war is over for us. But for the women of Afghanistan, the fight for basic human dignity has just begun. And the administration that promised to have their backs is nowhere to be seen. And that's the way the world burns. Stay snarky.